In May 2026, a study revealed a number that should have been national news, but somehow wasn't. The median American worker, meaning the person right in the middle of all American workers, has just $955 saved for retirement. $955, not $95,000, not $9,500, $955. That's not enough for 1 month's worth of rent in most cities. Not enough for a single medical emergency. Not enough for groceries for a quarter. And yet that's the median, meaning half of American workers have even less. Some have zero. Meanwhile, in April 2026, inflation accelerated to 3.8% annually, the highest reading since May 2023. Gasoline prices rose 24% over the year, food prices rose 3.2%, shelter costs rose 3.3%. Credit card debt sits at $1.25 trillion across America, and the federal government just started garnishing wages from defaulted student loans. The math is brutal. Most Americans cannot retire. They will work until they physically can't anymore. Today, I'm not going to give you another generic, save more money video. I'm going to honestly break down what's actually happening, why this crisis has accelerated in 26, and whether the most famous personal finance book ever written, The Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey, actually provides a path out, or whether it's now too late for most people. Welcome to Earnings Per Page. Honest finance, no hype. Hit subscribe. Let's get into it. First, let's understand what the 955 number actually means. The figure comes from data on defined contribution retirement plans, 401(k) and similar workplace accounts. It's the median amount Americans have in those accounts. There are several things this number doesn't capture. It doesn't include Social Security benefits, which provide roughly $800 to $2,000 per month on average for retirees. It doesn't include home equity. It doesn't include pensions for the small percentage of workers who still have them. It doesn't include other savings accounts. But here's the harsh reality. Social Security was never designed to fund a complete retirement. It was designed to supplement other savings. The median monthly Social Security benefit barely covers basic expenses in most American cities. Home equity is illiquid. You can't pay for groceries with home equity unless you take on more debt or sell. The pension era is over for most private sector workers, so the 955 number, properly understood, means this: the vast majority of American workers have almost nothing dedicated to retirement beyond what the government will provide. They are relying on a system designed in 1935 to handle modern retirement costs in 2026. The math does not work. Lesson 1. The 2026 inflation problem. Here's why this is uniquely brutal right now. Inflation in 2026 is rising again. The Consumer Price Index showed a 3.8% annual increase in April, well above the Federal Reserve's 2% target. Gasoline is up 28.4%. Energy costs are squeezing American budgets. Food is up. Shelter is up. Core inflation, which excludes food and energy, is up 2.8%, sticky and persistent. For someone with no savings, inflation isn't just a number on the news. It's the difference between making rent and not, between groceries and not, between paying down debt and falling further behind. Inflation also destroys the value of any retirement savings people do have. If you have $20,000 saved for retirement and inflation runs at 3.8% annually for 20 years, that money will only buy about half of what it does today. Time is not your friend if you're not investing aggressively. Lesson 2. The credit card problem. American credit card debt sits at $1.25 trillion in 2026. The average credit card APR is over 22%. This is a wealth-destroying spiral. If you carry a $5,000 credit card balance at 22% interest, paying only the minimum payment will take you 19 years to pay off. You'll pay over $7,500 in interest alone. Meanwhile, the S&P 500 historically returns about 10% per year. So when someone carries credit card debt, they're effectively paying 22% interest while their retirement savings earn 10%. The math destroys them. Lesson 3. The student loan problem accelerating in 2026. Beginning in early 2026, the federal government resumed wage garnishment for defaulted federal student loans. Up to 15% of after-tax income can now be seized from defaulted borrowers. Up to 10 million American borrowers are potentially affected. This is on top of inflation, on top of credit card debt, on top of the rising cost of essentials. For millions of Americans, the math has become impossible. Saving for retirement isn't a priority. Surviving the month is. Now, Does Dave Ramsey's framework actually solve this? Let's evaluate honestly. Dave Ramsey is one of the most famous personal finance figures in modern American history. His book, The Total Money Makeover, has sold over 10 million copies. His radio show is among the most listened to in America. His 7 baby steps framework has helped millions of people transform their finances. The framework is straightforward. Step 1, save $1,000 as a starter emergency fund. Step 2, pay off all non-mortgage debt using the debt snowball method, smallest balance first, regardless of interest rate. Step 3, save 3 to 6 months of expenses for a full emergency fund. Step 4, invest 15% of household income for retirement. Step 5, save for children's college. Step 6, pay off your home early. Step 7, build wealth and give generously. Lesson 4, what Ramsey's framework gets right. The diagnosis is brilliant. Ramsey understands the most important truth about personal finance. Most people don't have a money problem. They have a behavior problem. They've made decisions over years and decades that put them in their current situation. Ramsey's framework provides emotional motivation, clear sequential steps, and a sense of forward momentum. The baby steps work for millions of people because they're psychological as much as mathematical. The debt snowball, paying smallest balances first, isn't mathematically optimal. You should pay highest interest first. But it's behaviorally optimal because small wins create momentum, and momentum is what sustains people through a 5 to 10-year journey out of debt. Step 1's emergency fund of just $1,000 is genuinely doable for almost anyone, and it prevents the cycle where one small emergency causes new debt. Lesson 5. What Ramsey's framework doesn't address. Now, the honest critique. The Total Money Makeover was written in 2003. The American economic landscape has changed dramatically since then. Wages have not kept pace with the cost of essentials. Housing costs in many cities are now 50 to 70% of median income. Healthcare costs can wipe out a decade of savings with one diagnosis. Childcare in many cities costs more than rent. For someone earning $50,000 per year in a high-cost city, save 15% for retirement. Sounds like financial advice from another planet. There is no 15% to save. There's not even 5%. Ramsey's framework also doesn't engage seriously with structural problems. It assumes that if you just follow the steps, the math will work. For tens of millions of Americans, the math genuinely doesn't work. Not because of behavior, but because of the gap between what they earn and what they need. Lesson 6. What actually works in 2026? Here's my honest take. Blending Ramsey's behavioral wisdom with the harsh realities of 2026. First, automate everything. The single most powerful financial move you can make is automatic transfers from your paycheck to savings before you ever see the money. Even $25 per paycheck adds up over 30 years. Time and consistency beat amount. Second, attack high interest debt first mathematically. Paying off a 22% credit card is the same as earning a guaranteed 22% investment return. There is no investment in the legal market that compares. If you have credit card debt and any spare income, paying it off should be your absolute priority. Third, increase your income. This is where Ramsey's framework is weakest. For most Americans in 2026, the path to genuine wealth building is not just cutting expenses, it's increasing earnings, side income, skill development, job switching, negotiating raises, education in higher demand fields. The brutal math of 2026 is that you cannot frugal your way to retirement if your income doesn't cover basics. Fourth, accept that retirement may look different. The traditional model of retiring at 65 and stopping work entirely may not be available to most Americans. Many will need to work in some capacity into their 70s. This is not catastrophic if planned for. Many retirees actually report being happier with part-time work in retirement than full-time leisure. But it requires honesty about what's possible. Final verdict. Is the Total Money Makeover still relevant in 2026? Yes, but with critical caveats. Ramsey's behavioral framework is timeless. The math has changed. If you have any margin in your income, Ramsey's framework will absolutely help you build wealth over 10 to 20 years. If you don't have margin, if your income genuinely doesn't cover your basic costs, the book gives you the right mindset, but the real solution is to increase your income, not just to cut expenses. The 955 retirement savings statistic is not a moral failing of Americans. It's the predictable result of decades of wage stagnation, rising costs, healthcare disasters, and a retirement system designed for an economy that no longer exists. The good news is, small consistent actions compounded over time still work. The bad news is, time is running out for people in their 50s and 60s who haven't started. If you're in your 20s, 30s, or 40s, start now, automate everything, attack high interest debt, and accept that you cannot wait. Time is the only asset that compounds against you when you delay. If this resonated, subscribe to Earnings Per Page. Next time I'm covering the surprising rise of America's tradwife economy, the cultural and financial trend that's just gone viral on Bloomberg. Drop a comment with what's keeping you from saving more right now. See you in the next one.